I realized that I am doing way too much and I need to cut back so that my work fits into just a certain number of days. I'm like, why do I feel like I'm always struggling to keep up and make time for my husband and for like self-care and rejuvenation? And it's like, oh yeah, because I have too much on my plate. It is overflowing the time that I have available for it. I mean, even those of us who are supposedly more advanced in air quotes screw up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel like I wrote something down earlier. Maybe it was with Nicole. If you don't plan, you'll never have any time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to make it. Like people are like, I'm gonna wait until I have more time. You never have more time. You carve out the time.
Yeah. We'll all get the same 168 hours a week. How are you going to use yours?
Exactly.
Apparently, I'm going to shove in 7 events in one day.
Get it all done.
So tell me about today's fresh new hell.
Oh, today's fresh hell. I love it. I love that you remembered that about. Oh gosh.
I remember nothing.
You write everything down.
I have extensive notes that say in big circly thing with arrows pointing to it, today's fresh hell, because that was just hilarious.
Oh gosh. I mean, today's fresh hell has not yet revealed itself.
It's still early for you.
It's still early for me. Yeah. I'm heading out of town today for a conference, and the weather is supposed to be really bad driving there. So that's probably going to be my fresh hell that I get to deal with.
Yeah.
There's always something. I mean, you have to embrace it. Like there's going to be something every single day.
I was getting frustrated. I don't know if it was this past watch cycle or the one before. Like last month, my mic was like smashed in my face, and right now, like I don't reason, super pissed off. Just like you know what, just not interested in being a team player. And I'm like, oh,
fuck you, we're okay. Yeah.
It's just not. Wasn't interested in doing what I was doing at all. And I was like, you know what? This is why I make the money that I make, because when this stuff comes up and it needs to get done, I'm able to do it. I'm not happy about it. Right.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy about it. But I did it and it got done.
Yeah.
Okay. So last time we spoke, we talked about there's no shortage of cash. There's a shortage of vision.
Yes.
That's your quote, not my quote. Your quote. Logistics being a huge problem. That strategic planning. Oh, you got to build time in. It says right in there.
Well, I'm consistent.
Yeah. Yeah. Culture fundraisers aren't begging for money. I don't remember what that exactly was.
Yeah, it's where your board is like, ugh, I don't like begging for money. I feel like I'm begging for money. You're not begging for money. You're asking people to invest in our mission and the things that we can achieve.
Yeah. There we go. That's what it was. It's like, I knew it was important. I'll just ask her. Yeah. Join me. I'm donating. Yes. Join me.
A very powerful phrase.
Yes. All of the energy, none of the heat. It was a cold fusion for nonprofits.
I think that one came from you.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just put Travis under here. Travis.
Oh, or maybe it was why the firefly is my spirit animal.
Oh, yeah. Forest of fireflies shine brighter when we shine together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know. Oh, hey, how's business, by the way?
How's business? I'm working with an amazing client right now. I have room for 9 more. And I'm working on finding them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I signed up a client since we talked last. I'm waiting for
Awesome.
the paycheck to hit. And I think I have another one signed up. Getting pretty excited.
Sweet. It's a
Yes,
rush.
it is. It's a huge rush because this can confirm that I can do this thing after the military.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I tried to register my business,
Mhm.
and then I got a rejection letter that I posted in my group
Oh
because I
no.
used the word architect. I have to go through like the Oklahoma Board of Architects to get
Oh
approval to use that word, and I was like,
oh
"What?
my God.
I'm not an architect. That's not what I do. I build, and I like buildings." So I have to contact the Oklahoma Board of
Oh my God.
Architects to see if they'll let me use that word essentially, or I have to try to register in another state or whatever to get a business that says architect on it. And I'm not an
That is
architect.
crazy.
That or I have to go to architecture school.
Right, because you have time for that and desire and
I have all the free time
yeah.
because I schedule my day, Becky.
I saw your calendar. I saw some blank space, tiny slivers of blank space.
Yeah, you know what I use my last blank space for? I'm freakishly trying to delete things off my computer so I can make room to save this interview because I have some data space management issues I'm dealing with.
uh
I'm like, I haven't even had this thing for a year. How is it full?
yeah, because you do a ton of interviews.
Well, because these videos are like a
Mm,
whole gig. So I got to
yeah.
figure out how to compress them so I can then use the video and post them online and then get them off of my.
Hmm.
Ugh. Do you know how to use that? Do you know how to do compression video? I saw something.
I don't.
Uh,
I just upload to YouTube and then
but it's too
let it.
big for YouTube. My videos are too big for YouTube.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I would search Google and do what Google tells me. That's how I convert the M4A into MP3 audio from Zoom interviews.
Mhm.
There's like a website that I always find when I do a Google search because I keep forgetting to bookmark it. I'm like, gotta get the thing done, and then so I always end up googling what the website was.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay then. Virtual executive director, right?
yeah.
Still what you're calling yourself?
Hmm.
I'll make sure I get the words right. Oh, oh, I've been told a lot lately, at least a dozen times, like, I really love when you breathe. You're so calming. I love your voice. Out of nowhere, I'm military. No one talks to people that way. They're like, I really love. It's Virginia. I will fly you to Canada when I can go this month. I will fly you to Canada when I retire because I want to hear you speak. I was like, okay, I'm in. Fly me to
Nice.
Canada. Yeah, I was like, this is cool. It's a lot of fun.
So are you doing ASMR videos next?
What's that?
Oh, Google it. It's
ASMR.
like it's sort of this soothing for some people, not for me. They make me crazy. But it's like when someone talks really low into the microphone and you can hear every little click of their voice, of their mouth.
The
And then they'll
late night
sometimes like
FM
open
DJ voice.
things or they'll like crinkle things like crinkly
Don't
sounds
do
or
that. That's
yeah,
terrible.
or chewing sounds. Oh, I can't even
Whoa.
handle chewing sounds. So I am not an ASMR fan, but people are making a ton of money on it right now.
Here's this thing I hate. You should check it out.
Exactly. You'd be great at it.
I don't know
Yeah.
how I feel about that, Becky.
Well, look, I'm offering you a business opportunity
Yeah, we'll see how that
that
goes.
I have nothing to gain from.
Okay. Maybe I'll do it and tell you about it. I'll just like click this pen.
Exactly. Yeah.
My editor's like, what the hell are you doing? Well, let's kick this thing off, huh? Get you, see if I can enjoy some white space after you.
That'd be
Some
awesome.
white space for my next event. I
Yeah.
thought I was going to sneak a nap into one. I'm like, I got 40 minutes. Didn't have time for a nap.
Oh no.
get all stretched out. I don't want to, I don't want to stretch any muscles. Don't want to get too tight. Don't want to have like a spasm. I don't even want to call. It's just me, I don't have a broom I can hit the ceiling with or nothing. So.
Yeah. I have 2 dogs in here with me. If anyone walks by my house, I will mute myself. Just so you know.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Right now they're resting peacefully, but anything could happen.
You never know. Hey, I'm Travis Johnson, a nonprofit architect, helping you build a stronger nonprofit. On today with Becky Caldwell, the virtual executive director. If you like this and other things that I do, and you really like the sound of my sweet, sweet voice, go to patreon.com/nonprofitarchitect and throw me $10 a month. It's not going to break the bank. It's going to help to keep the show on the air and help doing good things. Becky, how are you today?
I'm merely marvelous. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal, Becky. Tell us what it is that you do with virtual executive director.
I empower nonprofit leaders through executive coaching and through giving them a voice on my podcast, which is also called Virtual Executive Director.
This sounds like a lot, like what you just described sounds exactly like what I do.
Isn't that awesome? We found each other.
We found each other. I really wanted to do this interview for a couple of reasons, other than you being completely awesome, and I love all your quotes, and then we can talk about today's fresh help. But there is no shortage. This is something that you said in our pre-interview. You said there is no shortage of cash. There's a shortage of vision. Becky and I, we're not in competition, right? Someone might go to Becky and say, help me with all my stuff. And then they realize they're not a good fit. She's like, oh, my buddy Travis, he can maybe help you. Or the same goes the other way. Like, I talked to that Travis guy and he's a little crazy and I'm not sure if I want him to go. And I'd be like, Becky is totally chill. You can go over to Becky and she will help you out.
Thank you. I love the spirit collaboration, and that's something that has been important to me my entire career, that we create more exponentially when we work together.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no way I could do this on my own. I am terrible on camera by myself speaking about something. I need that engagement. I need working with somebody to riff off of and suck their energy. I mean, use their energy together.
Exactly.
Build up the energy to get moving and to do things. And
yeah,
it's just, I love it. I love every minute of it. But we were talking before, and there's a lot of things you love to talk about. One of those is strategic planning.
Yeah. Strategic planning is something that scares a lot of people. And I try to demystify the process and take the fear out of it, insert a little joy and whimsy, and get people focused on what they say they want to do.
That's tough, right?
Yeah.
That's really tough.
I think just figuring out what they want to do is the hardest part. So it's like once you know what you want to do, everything else kind of falls into place. And
you have to be determined. You have to have that clarity. You need to really decide and be decisive, and just be like, "Yep, I'm going to do this," and then you go and do it.
Exactly. Like, I mean, you probably run into this a lot. That people want, or organizations want to be everything to everybody, and it makes me super crazy. But I'm like, who are you trying to reach? And they're like, everyone. No. You are not reaching everyone. If you're reaching everyone in air quotes, you are reaching no one.
Yeah, there's no way to do it. There's all these things out there that track metrics, and they track age and sex and demographics and income and all these different things, right? And you have to kind of decide who your avatar is, who you're going to help, and what that person looks like exactly, and why that matters. Because if you are targeting a 23-year-old fresh out of college, you're going to find them in different places than a 55-year-old male business owner, right? A 23-year-old fresh out of
Exactly.
college is maybe not my target audience, right? But they might be on Instagram or Snapchat full-time or TikTok or something that I don't believe my current target audience is, right? So if my target audience is not there and I'm wasting time on those platforms where they are not, then I'm not getting anywhere. I
Mm-hmm.
have to be able to define what it is that I'm trying to do, who it is that I'm trying to reach or help, and realize that that person I'm trying to help is different than the person that is going to give me money in order to help them.
Exactly. And I know when you work with nonprofits, you work with startups, a lot of startups.
Yeah.
And I think one of the ways that organizations get stuck in the strategic planning process is that that they don't really start with why. They start with solving maybe like one problem,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get so bogged down in that one problem they kind of lose sight of the bigger picture, and don't see all the ways that what they're doing could connect with an existing nonprofit, or by, I would say, and exploring existing nonprofits, how they're different, how they're unique, how they're approaching the problem differently, and that maybe by collaborating with another nonprofit that already exists, they can create something bigger together, but keeping their unique identity. I think we probably had this conversation that it's really frustrating when someone's like, no, don't start a nonprofit, just join another one. There's already tons of other organizations doing the work you want to do. Well, yes and no. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone has their unique approach to problem solving, and the way the United Way is going to solve childhood poverty is going to be different from maybe how your organization would approach it. And so while you can collaborate, don't be afraid to start your own thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I have released an episode a few weeks ago, or at least it'll be a few weeks ago by the time this podcast gets published, with Candace Leozu out of Mesa, Arizona. And she's actually under the umbrella of the United Way.
I listened to that one.
Yeah, but she
Yeah.
wanted to help people, and well, thank you for listening, by the way.
Yeah.
She wanted to help children aging out of foster care, which is close to my heart because I was a foster
Mhm.
kid. And she found out there was tons of programs out there, but they still had a problem. And so her solution to that kind of conundrum was that she was going to be a navigator. Her team was going to help these kids aging out of foster care navigate through the different programs that were available. And one of the things as a foster kid is you have all these different touch points, but they're always with like different people. So you always feel like you're getting left and getting abandoned. And when you have a navigator assigned to you that walks you through the whole process, and you build a relationship with them, and then you know that they're trustworthy and they're going to come through for you, it changes the whole experience completely. But she found something that they really needed in that region that people were sort of approaching and kind of doing, but they weren't really accomplishing what they
Yeah.
wanted to accomplish.
And she had such a passion for that specific thing
Yes,
too. And, and
absolutely.
and that's where, I mean, if the problem were solved, it would be solved, right?
Right.
And so by the mere fact that the problem still exists means you are needed. Your
Mm-hmm.
voice is needed. Your particular approach is still needed. And I would encourage anyone thinking of starting a nonprofit to just take a deep breath and really believe that their unique perspective is what will help fill the gap.
Mm-hmm.
But belief only goes so far, right? Like we still need things like money and structure.
Well, I don't
Oh, I
understand.
know.
You
I
need
know. Right?
money to do this?
I know.
I
Isn't that
don't, but I'm going to do this with my own money, and then I'm not going to take a salary, and then I'm not going to ask other people for money
right?
at all.
We're
And
not
then
going to
when I
beg
get
people
board
for
members,
money
yeah, and then
to
when I
solve
get
this
board
problem.
members, I'm not going to ask them to do anything, and then I'm going to come and I'm going to call Travis and ask why it's not going very well,
Exactly.
and I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
People
nothing wrong
get
with
so.
calling Travis.
There's nothing wrong. Call Travis.
Call Travis.
Definitely call Travis. Uh, so yeah, there's nothing. You've got to. Okay, so I get like so. get really passionate about fundraising because I've discovered that I love it. I know I'm one of those weirdos that
Le
loves
gasp.
fundraising.
That's French for gasp.
I love speaking Le French. Apologies to all your French listeners.
I wonder if I have any yet. I think I might have one. I don't know.
But yeah, people get really hung up on fundraising, and it's because I think they think of it as I'm begging for money to support me.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is the money has a higher purpose, and that purpose is to fulfill the mission. And so what you're asking people to do is join you in solving a problem.
Yeah.
That's what the money does.
Yeah. There's so many problems out there, and I've talked to people that deal with sex trafficking and workers trying to leave that lifestyle, people in the foster care system, people feeding the homeless, people helping with immigration conundrum down, on the southern Texas border, and all these different areas, and with the arts and all sorts of wonderful people, these great missions. And the thing that I really focus on and what I'm really doing for the startup nonprofits is the same thing that your coach would do in any kind of sports venue. If you play football, you're going to go out and you're going to do football things, and you go to football practice, you're going to run drills, and you're going to learn the basics. You're going to work on your footwork. You're going to work on your strength. You're going to do the same type of drills based on your position, all the way from when you start in the Pee-wees, go up through middle school and high school and into college. And if you make it to the pros, you're still doing those same drills. You've got people making millions of dollars who are focusing on crushing the basics. Like, hi, my name is Travis. I have this organization called the Nonprofit Architect. This is the wonderful stuff we do. But learning how to say that and having that roll off the tongue, and without any practice prompting or prep work, somebody say, hey, tell me about your stuff, and you just go, bleh, and it comes out. But it only comes out, like that. Not like bleh, but comes out easily. Due to practice, and covering those basics and saying, oh, how would you like to help support our organization? Or would you like to support us with this or that, or giving them the options?
Join me in achieving these outcomes.
Yes. Join me. I think on your t-shirt, it might just say, join me, Becky Caldwell. That's definitely your anthem from what we've talked before in the past, and what I see online. I think I've stuck that in a few interviews already because I just love the concept. It just makes everything so easy. This is the great stuff we're doing. Join us, join me as we tackle this thing together.
Exactly. It's like, with fireflies are sort of the spirit animal of virtual executive director. And one firefly in a forest is just like a tiniest pinpoint flash of light. But when you have hundreds or thousands of them, they can light your path.
That's right.
That's
Brighter
the power
together.
Joining together. Yeah.
But they don't create a lot of heat either. They don't. It's what you do is you're like the cold fusion of nonprofits, all of the energy, none of the heat.
None of the heat. Yep. Actually, that'd be a good t-shirt too.
I'll just tell Ginger and David and say, hey, whip that one up. Let's get that on the website. Let's get that one for sale.
It's certainly more positive than here comes today's fresh hell.
That's more of a venting podcast. And those kind of energy releases are important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's if I can segue just a little bit, like that's where connecting with other nonprofit leaders like we've done is so important, because you need that safety valve of, oh my God, this crazy thing just happened and I can't talk to anyone about it. So I'm talking about you.
Yeah. But it's killing me. And I talked to tons of people. I think your interview 5 of 6 today that I'm doing, just jamming them into a day to kind of free up my week, called stacking. Some people listening to this could take advantage of stacking, picking a day to lay out all your social media and schedule that so you don't have to go through and figure out every day how you're going to post things. You might be able to get it
Productivity
done
tip.
in productivity tip number, however many I'm on. That way you can free up the rest of your week. So you're not spending an hour or two a night trying to figure out what you're going to post. Instead, you spend 3 hours on, I don't know, Saturday morning while the kids are watching cartoons and everyone's kind of lazy. You've laid out your media plan for the week and you put it on autopilot. You don't have to go spend time trying to figure out content for the whole stinking week every day and trying to figure out before you know it, you've been on Facebook for 4 hours and your spouse is getting grumpy with you or whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
But people in the nonprofit world are not networking. They are not doing masterminds. They're not asking anyone that's not named Becky or Travis about how they can do the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why that is. There's some badge of honor they feel that they're wearing that says, I have to do this alone. Well, if you could do it alone, you wouldn't have started a nonprofit. You'd just be out doing it.
Exactly.
You can't do it
Exactly.
alone. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I think that's a lot to do with fear. Just speaking for myself as an actual executive director, which I still am, there's a little bit of trepidation about looking stupid in front of your board and maybe looking incompetent in front of your staff. And on top of that, you are on when you're out in public, especially where I am. It's a small town, so I will guaranteed when I am in my like paint clothes and all I want is that shame pint of Ben and Jerry's, I will run into a major donor at the store. And so it's uncomfortable to be vulnerable like that. And it helps so much to have people in the same vulnerable position to talk to. It's a very vulnerable position of power.
It really is. But we somehow got to this place where we feel like we can't ask questions, that we have to have the answer. Like you're doing a quick draw in the Old West, and if you don't draw faster than the other guy, you die. Yeah. That's not true.
It's
really not true at all. Me being in the military and having these boatload of qualifications and all the wonderful stuff to operate the millions upon millions of dollars worth of equipment and different things that I do and I'm responsible for. We have checklists and training, we have qualifications and all these things. And still every day, a vast majority of my day is filled with me asking questions. Either asking about the new thing, asking for new information, asking like, hey, can you refresh me on that? It's been a while since I looked at that publication because I have to have like 100 pounds of books memorized to do my job. Things like that. I can't possibly have all the answers. And no one's upset with me for asking them. They're like, oh man, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I think you said this before, the more questions you ask, the smarter I think you are.
Yes, yeah.
And we were talking about, I think Socrates, who's considered one of the all-time wisest men out there. He says, all I know is that I know nothing. And all he really did was ask questions.
And Neil deGrasse Tyson said, as the area of my knowledge expands, so does the perimeter of my ignorance. Yeah. The more you learn, you realize there's a whole other area of something. Oh, there's so much more that you're clueless about. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. We've got Google. We've got Zoom over the dang ocean where we can talk and be like, hey, Becky. Yeah, experts like Travis. And experts like Becky. Becky, I've got this problem with the client. They think they can do this. I tell them they're crazy. What do you think, Becky? Oh, they are crazy, but maybe they can help them this way. Yeah, exactly. You don't. But maybe telling them they're crazy isn't the most helpful. Well, I mean, I don't say it like to their face. Right. No, I don't talk like that about people. But they're just scared. They're scared to ask, and there's nothing for it, right? Before someone goes and does a marathon, they're going to ask, whether it's with their fingers on Google typing in, how do I prepare for a marathon? Or they talk to their buddy at the gym that's lean and has got beat up running shoes and like, hey, how do you run a marathon?
There's nothing wrong with not knowing the answer. There's
Mhm.
a problem not learning the answer.
Yes.
I
Oh, I
forget.
am swiping that quote.
There's a quote that I love, and I can't remember who it's accredited to. It's definitely not my quote. They said you can ask the question and appear ignorant, but if you don't ask the question, you remain ignorant. And it just blows my mind daily that people are not willing to ask questions.
Yeah.
I even opened up the show with a question. I said, "How are you, Becky?" I want to know. I want to know how Becky's doing.
So let's give your listeners a tool when someone comes to them and wants a piece of information that they don't have the answer to.
Mm.
I always say, I don't know, and let me find out. I will get back to
Yes.
you.
Yes. Or something like, I was like, it's on the tip of my tongue. Maybe I got like an 85%. I want to give you the correct. I want to give you the whole answer. Let me get
Mhm.
back to you here in a little bit
Yes.
with the full answer. You don't have to feel embarrassed that you don't have the thing. There's
No
millions of
one does.
things. There's millions of things going through our brains all day long.
Mhm.
What we do out here with the Navy Central Command is we have this 3-star admiral, and the whole staff spends their day doing planning, collecting data from all sorts of arenas, and he spends his whole day essentially in briefs. He is
Oh my
just having this massive team of people, something like 600 people, compile information for him, right, to make sure he's got the products he needs so that he can get the information he does so he can brief his boss and be successful and provide stuff to his boss, right? He spends his entire day asking questions. That's all he does, right? That's his
Yeah,
entire job, is to ask questions as the boss. He's not
that's
doing
amazing.
he's not doing the thing, right?
Right? Do
He's
you
not
think
on
he's
the ship.
incompetent because he asks questions all day? No.
No, no. They think he's very insightful and a wonderful man and a wonderful leader, and very caring because he does those things.
Mhm.
And it's amazing that people are still scared to ask questions.
Yeah.
Now I'm scared to ask questions. I don't even know what to ask you, Becky.
Well, I thought of gosh, I had thought of something and then I didn't write it down and then it left my head.
I
So I know, like that
think so much
happens
less of you
all
right
the
now.
time. I know, right? I am failing as a podcast interview.
Yeah, I thought
Um,
you were supposed to be some
well,
hotshot executive director guru.
right. Yeah. I'm also,
A
wait
human?
for it, a human being. Yeah. Um, so I guess riffing off of this topic of feeling kind of insecure,
Yes.
um,
Imposter syndrome.
imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome is a
Yeah,
real thing.
it is a real thing. Um, something that I have found valuable, because I also have a coach, by the way. I have two coaches,
Mhm.
and I figure if Tom Brady has a coach, I should have a coach. If if Placido Domingo works with a vocal coach, I should have a coach.
Mhm.
Um, and I have a fundraising coach, and I have a personal. She's more than a life coach, but like a personal coach. And what I love about having my own coaches is that I feel a lot more secure about myself. They provide like an external validation of what I think my experience is.
Mhm.
And they also are able to provide like just direct advice when I need it.
Yeah.
So when I'm coaching someone, my goal is to lead them to their own conclusion. But sometimes people just need you to tell them what to do. I am
Yeah.
exactly the
Yeah.
same way.
Yeah.
And that's something that I feel really passionately, both as as a coach and as the executive director, I'm finding more and more that my job is mentoring and helping my team arrive at their own conclusions. And then when they come to me and say, just tell me what to do, I'm completely stuck. Then if I have the answer, I can give it to them. But it's really that kind of support and advocacy for the person you're leading or the person you're coaching that helps empower them.
When I train, particularly in the military, I don't give people the answer when I'm training them. It frustrates a lot of people, and I understand why, right? Because sometimes you just like, dude, just shut up, just give me the answer. Like, I got to do the thing, right?
Yeah.
And I understand the value in that too. But I walk people through a thought process. I walk them through, their own discovery, because they know more than they think they know, right?
Yes.
They know more than they think they know. And you walk them through, or how might you figure this out? Or what product might give you this answer? Or where do we normally keep things like that? And you're like, oh, it's here. Or, oh, it's on the thing. Or, oh, I remember this. And, oh, you told me about that before. And before you know it, the thought process gets kicked in, and they're off. I do this with my kids. I do this with my clients. I had a great call a few days ago, nervous, going to call this big time CEO looking for a partnership, words of encouragement, all those wonderful things. Right? I was like, well, you have other partnerships, right? And she's like, oh yeah, well, this and that. And I went in, I talked to this local shoe store, and I talked to the owners, this and that. So it's like, so what's the difference between that guy and the guy you're going to go talk to? And she had a hard time giving me an answer. And the reality is not much. Right? There's not much difference. There's always going to be some company you're going to want to partner with, and you're going to make an approach, and you're going to have something that you think may or may not work. And that's perfectly fine. And you can go pitch it, and you're going to talk to me, and you can see how you can partner together, how you can join forces, right? Join me, join us. And the funny thing is sometimes you're going to get a no, right? But here's the secret. Before you asked, it was already a no. And the only chance, the only possibility you have as a yes is to ask. Exactly. I talk to people all the time. There's a wonderful gal out of California who's doing feral cat rescue, which is phenomenal. And I asked her about her fundraising. She's like, well, I really don't do fundraising. And I was like, well, you've got 30,000 people in your town, and some of them care about what you care about, and they want to help you, but you haven't asked them to. Well, I'm scared of getting the no. I was like, well, because you're not asking. Every single day you are getting 30,000 no's already. And she's like, why do you gotta say it like that? Because I want it to have an impact. I want you to understand what the problem really is, and you are already there. You're already in the suffering part of not having any partners, but you're also not trying to get partners. She talked my ear off. I love her to death for like 2.5 hours about cats.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot of cats.
It is, right? Very passionate, very exciting. You get just passion is just oozing through the screen, through the mic, through the headset. Passion just flying all over the place. I was like, did you ever have this conversation, this exact conversation with someone that might want to give you money? And she just like curled up in a ball on camera. And she's like, no. I was like, if you're talking like this, you don't even have to ask. The wallets are just going to fly open. The purses are going to have credit cards just flying at you. You're going to have to duck. When you have this much passion, you care this much about what it is that you're trying to do and who you're trying to impact and the thing you're trying to solve, you're never even going to have to ask for money. It's just going to come as long as you're talking to the right people.
Exactly. And so how do we define the right people?
You got to get that avatar, right? There's a difference between defining who you're helping and defining who your donor might be.
Exactly. And so I actually, I came up with like a system for it.
A system. We like systems.
System. I love systems.
Tell us your system, Becky.
Okay. So it's like a 3 or 4 step system. So first of all, you think about who you help. So basically write down who do you help, and then who benefits when those you help are doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's who you go ask for money, basically.
So
who do I
help? Right.
Who benefits when the people I help are doing well?
Mm-hmm.
That's who I go and ask to join us in creating these outcomes so that they can thrive.
You see, when you break it down to those easy steps, it's almost like you want people to do it and take action.
Right? It's so simple. And it takes that sort of like begging for money aspect out of it, because you're showing a like a business, for example, how they benefit. Like they want this. They want to reach that target market. They want those people to do well so that they make more money.
Absolutely.
So, okay, if I can give a real life example.
You can.
I can. I want.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So at the organization I lead, Virginia Highlands Festival, when the people we serve are our sort of direct downtown, small town, downtown community by creating events that bring people downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And when our downtown merchants are doing well, mainly restaurants and bars,
Mm-hmm.
when they are doing well, they order more food and beverage from their suppliers.
Yeah.
So I went to our main beer and wine and liquor distributor here and asked them for a sponsorship because they see the direct benefit of the restaurant doing well. Now, the restaurant might not be able to support my organization to a huge extent because they're, I know small businesses, especially small town Main Street businesses are, they're like super tight with money.
Right.
And so I don't want to ask them for a lot of money. I ask them for time and to say nice things about us. So I ask them for their influence. And then I go the next step beyond them to the deeper pockets and ask them for the cash to do what we need to do.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. And I would like to say that I have a way for those restaurants and bars to support you without any cost to you or them.
And what is that way? I'm dying to know.
Yeah, I've got
Tell
you on
me
the hook,
more,
don't
Travis.
I? But wait,
Tell me
there's
more.
more. I have a friend in Idaho, I believe he's an Army veteran. He runs a company called 12B Capital. It's a credit card processing gig that he does. But because he's such a small operation, he can offer vast discounts. So every time, if you don't know, if you're listening to this, you're not aware, every time you swipe a card, right, the business gets charged a fee. Mm-hmm. Right. So if you can save money every time someone swipes, that's an advantage to you. Right. So for nonprofits, he has something called 12B Gives. So the restaurant and Isaac will talk and they'll collaborate. He'll come in and put a new POS, new point of sale systems, charge them less per swipe. And then also on every single swipe, if you have partnered with him as a nonprofit, he will give that nonprofit they deemed to partner with a portion of every single swipe. Right?
Wow.
Which is phenomenal. Think of places that do many swipes a day, right? Think of places that do large ticket item swipes. Think of a department store or a college or a hospital. Can you imagine as a nonprofit being partnered with a not-for-profit hospital and you've saved them money, done all the work for them, and every time someone checks out of, say, the pharmacy, money goes into your account?
That is amazing.
Isn't it amazing?
That sort of thing would be great for Main Street organizations. Mm-hmm. I can see that being a super easy fit for a Main Street organization or a restaurant association or
restaurants, bars.
Yeah.
All of those people with small businesses that have some stripe or something that they do. And as long as you're over a certain dollar amount a month, like he's got his qualifications, right? If you're over that threshold, it's a no-brainer for both parties. Mm-hmm. He comes in, he sets it up, he's got his team that does it. all of a sudden your bank account starts filling up, and the business can say that they are directly supporting a nonprofit in the community, which helps them get more
Yeah,
people in, and it costs them
exactly.
less money.
Wins all around.
But then you have to go to your scared place and you've got to ask people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a simple ask, be like, hey, I see you're doing great business here. It's wonderful. If I could save you money on each and every swipe and have you support a nonprofit cause at the same time, would you be interested? And the answer is an easy no or a yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're yes, you connect them with Isaac. If it's a no, you go ask the buddy next to him. You go ask the next door over. No big deal.
Yeah. Can we talk about people saying no? Because that's actually that is today's fresh hell.
No, we can talk about people
It
saying
revealed
no.
itself. So
Absolutely.
I'm where I'm located. We do ad sales to help support our organization, and people will not tell me no. Like it. So I think we need to make a safe place for people to tell us no as leaders. That we need to get okay with no ourselves.
You're talking about people in your organization.
No, I'm talking about, let's say I go and ask for an ad sale.
Mm-hmm.
The business owner will either not answer me, or they'll say, nope, I don't have any questions, or, oh, I didn't get the thing, or they'll just keep putting me off.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
And
okay to
they'll
say
never tell me
no.
no. Like,
Just
just
say
tell me.
no. Get it off my
Yeah,
list.
I can take it. And so I think as leader, I'm percolating now on some way of helping nonprofit leaders get okay with no, and anyone who does fundraising or sales,
Mm-hmm.
getting okay with no. I'm sure there's like 19 books out there on it.
There's a
So
ton. There's one
yeah.
I definitely recommend, and that is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It
Oh
is
yes,
phenomenal book. He
that guy
talks
is
about it in there.
amazing.
He wants the no, because when you
Yes.
get the no, then the negotiations really start. If you get the no, you can say things like, what part of my offer are you not okay with?
Mm-hmm.
What part of this partnership does not make sense or is unreasonable? And then you can figure out where their pain points are. Like, oh, I've worked with startup nonprofits in the past, and they really created problems here, here, and here. Well, then that gives you an opportunity to get to a yes, because then you can say, well, I'm willing to work with you here. We can ignore this part completely and leave it out of the plan, and we can go over here and do this. But until you get down to that no, you don't even know what you're negotiating. We get
Yeah.
this, what does Chris call it? This kind of false yes. They'll say
Mm-hmm.
yes just to shut you up and get you out of the building, and they'll just
Mm-hmm.
ignore you till you stop asking,
Yeah.
right? But you really want to get down to that no and hear the no. Like, hey, Becky, you got time to get on a call today?
No.
No, but feel free to hop on my calendar and grab a time that works for you. I don't have the time right now. I would love to, but I can't.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a perfectly reasonable response.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So we have to get okay with no on many levels, which kind of goes against everything I believe in, because as a improviser at heart, it's all about yes and. So like saying no is really hard for me. Saying no is hard. Hearing no, it hits me kind of weird. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why do you, why would you tell me that? But I'm more okay with hearing it than I am saying it. So I think there's a couple of things around the word no that nonprofit leaders can learn from and get better at, both hearing and saying it.
I tell you, there's a whole group of people out there that need to start saying yes, and there's a whole other group of people out there that need to start saying no.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in the nonprofit game, chances are you still have a job, whether part-time or full-time. You have a family. You might be on a board. You might be volunteering over here. You might be doing this over there. You need to learn to say no. You
Mm-hmm.
are not letting those people down by saying no. You are freeing those people to go ask someone else, because you
Exactly.
cannot pour from an empty cup.
Yep. And we've come full circle. Isn't that beautiful? You need the white space in your calendar.
Yes.
You need to make, you will not find the time. You have to make the time
You have
to
to
take
make
care
the
of
time.
yourself and to have the margins in your day so that we overestimate what we can get done.
Yes, we do overestimate what we can get done.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. If you're not planning your time, you're never going to have any.
Yeah.
If you are not planning your day, you're not going to have any free time.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's squeezing in an extra Netflix show because you're on the couch, you need to recharge, you could have scheduled recharge time. There's
Exactly.
no problem with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Feel free to schedule some me time, some treat yourself time, some meditation time, some relaxed time. Whatever the thing is for you, it's okay to schedule that.
And then you can say to someone, "Oh, my calendar's full of me
Of
time,"
me
but they
time.
don't need to know what your calendar is full of.
I had someone ask me, they said, "Oh, what are you doing on Friday?" And I'm like, "Nothing." And like, "Oh, well, I've got this thing you want to hit." So I said, "No, I'm gonna stop you right there." See, I have intentionally scheduled my day full of nothing. I
Yes.
need to unplug. I need to get away from people. I need some time to recharge.
Yeah.
Everyone recharges differently. And he was like, "I have never heard of that." Yep, I have scheduled a huge block of time specifically for nothing. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
We'll talk later.
And can we talk for a sec? Okay, so there are a couple things I would love to chat with you about. Number one, think time versus downtime. And number two, is there a tool or like how do you plan your day, week? Like what do you have a ritual? I think I have a ritual, and I think that might help people to know kind of like how, okay, like you're saying I should do this. I don't know how to do it.
I
And also the
gotcha.
importance of think time, especially for leadership people.
So for me, for my schedule and what I do on my Facebook page, under my picture, my glorious, glorious picture, is a link to my calendar. You are free to click on my calendar and schedule time with me. If I am still in the Middle East right now, right? I'm still in Bahrain. I'm not going anywhere. There's some kind of coronavirus travel ban and everyone's freaking out for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I hope none of my listeners get coronavirus, but I also don't know how terrifying it really is. Either way, I can't leave right now. But I have essentially one time slot 5 days a week to get on a call with somebody. Sometimes that's a pre-interview call before we go on a podcast. Sometimes it's a podcast. Sometimes it's just a get to know someone call. And sometimes it's calls that I have scheduled with my clients and we talk about all sorts of wonderful stuff like how do I get my board engaged and how do I raise money and how come we don't have crazy amazing hair like Becky does. And then I guess, that I just gonna have to deal with those phone calls. But they're on there and I have my work schedule on there. I have my time that is available specifically dedicated for this. I also schedule my own time. Sometimes I work 5 days a week with the weekends off. Sometimes I work a 3 on and 3 off shift work schedule, which I'm not a huge fan of. That's just how it is sometimes. But when I have that third day off on those, I really have time to drill down and do some of the things on my podcast. If you listen to Gary Vee, who has wonderful things to say, if you are trying to work your way out of a job, you have side hustle time. You have time in the morning before you go to work. You have time to listen to podcasts on the way to work. You have time dedicated during lunch to posting about whatever your thing is. In mine and Becky's cases, we're in nonprofit groups and we answer questions for people in nonprofit groups. And then they say they're amazing. They listen to the podcast, they come as guests, they schedule events, and they hire us for coaching and consulting services. Right?
Yes, exactly. That's how it works.
Yeah. Then you get home with the kids, you spend time with the wife and the dog and the kids and do all that stuff. And then you put the kids to bed. And then from 9 to midnight, you are working on your side business. But people have determined what they are going to do and what that might look like.
Mm-hmm. So the key to your success is scheduling everything, putting everything on that calendar and making your calendar an open book.
Yes. Yeah. People go on there and be like, hey, I see you don't have any time for 3.5 weeks to talk. No, I do not.
Yep. Exactly.
And I am torn on this because sometimes like people will cancel like the day before,
Mm,
and sometimes I'll try to go schedule something. So I think if it's within 48 hours for me, I do not try to reschedule that time. I take that
yeah.
time, and since I had it blocked out for business stuff, I'm going to do some business stuff most of the
Mhm.
time. If they schedule more than 48 hours out, maybe even 72 hours out, I will try to fill that slot and get something else going. Meet someone cool like Becky and figure out how we can collaborate and work together and do something amazing.
Cool. Yeah, I agree that if it's too close to the scheduled time slot, trying to put something else in there creates more stress than it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at that time as a gift of additional think time or a surprise self-care.
Yeah. So when you say think time, I'm not
Yeah.
sure that people listening quite understand what that concept is. What do you mean by think time?
Oh, great. Yeah. So um, in nonprofit, in any leadership role, we have to make 90 million decisions every day and oftentimes very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And that leaves us with no time to process and very little time to develop what our sort of core truth is about something, so that we just end up running and not ever really solidifying anything. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've had to go back and hunt for an email that I sent, but someone then called me, and then I'm like, I have no idea if I did that or not, because I did it so quickly without any processing time.
Mm-hmm.
So think time is when it's not necessarily downtime. It's time to actually like kind of sit and ponder through something, where maybe you dedicate that time to a problem you're having, something you need to solve, something you need to create,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't quite know how it's going to come about. You kind of just have this sort of like nugget of an idea, and you want to devote some think time to it so that you can more fully flesh it out and then start bringing people in to help you with it. So think time. Um, I read in Kim Scott, her book Radical Candor, that one of the CEOs of Twitter like carved out 2 hours of think time a day. 2 hours. Can you imagine taking two? So clearly it wasn't a 2 hour block. So you take maybe 20 minutes, or you take 30 minutes over your lunch, or you take, maybe your commute is a little bit brainless. If you get to take public transportation, just hop on the train and get your think time in. And that makes us better leaders, because we can then really know how to respond to something, because we've devoted the think time to it, or how to
Mm-hmm.
proceed with an issue, or to proceed with an innovation or something that we're bringing into the world.
I know this might not be the right person, but Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, walks 5 miles to work. He's a billionaire. He can do whatever he wants, and he chooses to walk 5 miles to work. I got about a mile and a half each way, and I walk to work most days. Let's be honest. Sometimes I wake up a little late, and I'm like, you know what, Uber, come grab me, or
Mhm.
inclement weather. But I got about 20, 25 minutes of casual walk to work. Sometimes I
Yeah.
listen to a podcast. Sometimes I listen to a little music. Sometimes I listen to nothing, and I'm just outside, and it really helps kind of clarify my day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, that's your think time. It's also a good transition time. I think for people who work from home, like I'm working from home today, and I happen to live. I'm looking like out my window right now. I can almost see my office building. I don't get good transition time between work and whatever else I'm doing. So I have to carve that out for myself.
Mm. So something that I find especially important primarily for the ladies. I don't know too many guys I've had to share this with, but no, I take that back. Definitely applicable to both. We
Mm.
find ourselves doing something like errands, going to appointments, going to the grocery store, even going to and from work. We tend to slam on the brakes, jam the car and park, spring out of the car, and run into the place wherever we're going to. And then when we're finished, we sprint back out to the car, jump in, jam on the gas, and we peel out of there. Something that I found very helpful and very successful to people is take 5. Take 5 minutes. You get to the grocery store, you've got things on your list. Stop, put the car in park, maybe put some music on, maybe don't, but don't jump out of your car. Don't do it. Take a quick 5. 5 is not going to affect anything.
Exactly.
5 is not going to affect anything.
I love that advice.
When I was getting stressed out at work when I was younger, I find that I didn't have that transition time. We had a young baby at home, and I rush home, and I had worked all day. And in the meantime, my wife has been, parenting all day, and it takes massive amounts of energy and love. And I get home, and I jam the truck in park and hop out, and I go in, and she's like, "Oh, thank the Lord, my relief is here."
Yeah.
Right. And she should feel that way, right? But also because I didn't take any time to relax or recharge, I'm not ready to take baby duty yet either. So I had to find that I had to go sit in my car for a few minutes. And I don't remember how I came across this. I know I didn't come up with it on my own. I get to the front door, and I would stand in front of my front door before going in, and I would take off work. Someone that walking by and looked at me would be like, "What is this lunatic doing?" I would pretend that I had a hat on and I was taking off my work hat. I pretend that I'm unbuttoning a work shirt and taking off my work shirt. And I went through the physical motions of this. And then I talked to myself for just a moment and say, what is my wife going to need? She is probably going to need diapers changed. She's probably going to need laundry started, changed, or folded. She's probably going to need dishes done, trash taken out, and she's probably got a honey to-do list. Because if I set the expectation of me knowing without a doubt that my wife is going to need some or all of those things, and that's the expectation, then I know when I get in there, I'm ready to do those things. If my expectation is I'm going to go take off this, there's going to be a pile from the door to the bedroom of pieces of clothes that I take off on the way, in the door, and I'm going to leave them there for the magic fairy that cleans up after me, aka my wife. And then I feel like I'm going to plop down on the couch for 4 hours and watch Netflix. If that's my expectation and my wife needs me, we're going to have a bad time.
Yes.
Right? We are. But if I expect that when I go through that door, she's going to throw everything at me, and not like physical stuff, right? But throw everything at me because she needs relief, and I'm expecting it, it's so much easier.
I think I love that idea of transition time as self-care time. And I think the more we can, I love that if we could just be mindful of it, be conscious of it, and use our transitions, because we transition a lot of times throughout the day. What if we actually used that time mindfully to take care of ourselves, to pause, to, like you said, take off the one thing and put on the next thing? God, so much that could avoid so much conflict and stress.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we don't pay enough attention to transition rituals, and they can be so helpful.
So I'm in Bahrain, and I'm not putting on my uniform at home. I am transiting to work in my civilian clothes and putting my uniform on. And then when I leave, I take my uniform off and I transition back in my civilian clothes. But that, it's really annoying. I don't enjoy it, right? But I did notice that when I'm going to work and I go into the locker room, there's a little ritual right before I'm going into the office that I'm putting work on. I'm actually putting on my boots. I'm actually putting on this. I'm actually putting on that. I have my stuff in the pockets that I need my stuff in, and I've got the things that I got to do. And then when it's time to leave work, I go back in the locker room, and I'm actually taking work off.
Yeah.
And so when I walk out of the building, I'm already refreshed into a different mode. Maybe something as simple as getting dressed for work at work. And I know I'm saying this, and some people are like, Travis, that just doesn't work. That's crazy. I can't do it.
Well, for people who bike to work, a lot of them do that.
Yes. People that bike or walk to work, they've got the fresh set of clothes there. They understand the process. They carve a little bit more time for it. Carve it out. You don't create, you carve out time. Yeah, full circle. Here we go.
You don't find it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how we're spiraling through the subject.
I won't say we're spiraling. I think this is a controlled
positive
crash.
upward spiral.
Oh, upward spiral. Yeah. Positive words, stuff. Yeah.
I mean, that's what progress is. Like you do a thing, you kind of do it well, and then you advance up, and then you come back around to that same thing, and you're doing it better.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this kind of the same thing, and you spiral. You keep circling back, and you just get better and better, more elevated at it.
We gotta call that a thing. That needs to be a thing. We need to call it something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listeners, please let Travis know what we should call this sort of positive upward spiral.
And don't come back with PUS, P-U-S, for positive upward spiral. That is not what we're looking for.
That's not what we want.
I know the people that listen to this show that would suggest that. That is not the goal here. The goal is interaction and feedback. But what a great story to end the show on.
Yeah.
The PUS, the classic PUS ending is actually what we're looking for. I may or may not have the editors edit this out. I don't know. I'm okay with making mistakes. Becky, how can our listeners get a hold of you? What's the best number one way to find you?
Well, okay, the best way to find me is through my website, which is virtualexecutivedirector.com. And for nonprofit leaders, I have a Facebook group just for nonprofit leaders called the Executive Director Mastermind. And so those are two ways. So the Mastermind it's a free group where we have members all over the country, or all over the world. I mean, so someone's awake and can help with today's fresh hell whenever it shows itself.
Perfect. Becky, I love so much talking to you, and you're always a pleasure to have.
It's great talking to you too, Travis. Thank you.
You have a great day.
You too.
That's it. We did it, Becky.
We did it.
We did
My
it.
husband
Yay.
just appeared with a beef stick. Thank you so much, honey. He knows I'm hungry.
Perfect.
I love being married so much. Oh my gosh. Such a partnership. He walks in, he's like, "You want a bite?" I'm like, "Yes, I want a bite."
Is the sun up? Do I need a bite?
Right?
Absolutely. I just gained some white space because my next appointment says, can we slide it back a half an hour?
Woo!
So now instead of having an hour, I have an hour and a half.
You could get that nap in.
Good.
If you really wanted to.
Well, I'm done with this. So I just came up with a book idea during our podcast.
Oh shit, that's awesome. What is it? Tell me.
Mindful Transitions.
Yep.
And I have like a subtitle, or I don't know if this is just a thing for memorization, but setting expectation, understanding your expectations, something like that.
Yeah. I love it. Mindful transition. Yep. I think it's true for men and women. My experience has been that men need transition time more than women do, just because of the way women's brains work. Yeah. We kind of have that diffuse awareness all the time. which makes us crazy. And men tend to be able to focus more and need to focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a gross generalization, but that's just been sort of my experience in the world.
You know, it's a gross generalization for a reason. But it sounds like I'm going to need a co-author to see it from a different point of view.
I'm in. I'm totally in.
Is this going to be a thing? Are we going to make this happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I had the same thought as we were talking about it. I'm like, oh, I need to create like a thing for this. Let's do it together. It'll be so much more awesome.
Yes.
And less work for each of us.
Yes. Let's schedule it. You can hop on my calendar.
I will. I'm making like an actual to-do item. Ooh, I got some mail. Okay, Travis, I got to go. My next thing.
Good. I need my white space. Get out of here.
All right. Peace out.
Bye.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right.